ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the channel. And today we're actually going to do something fun. It's been about several years since I posted on this channel, but I'm going to start posting on it again. Welcome to the channel, guys. And today we are actually going to work on a new RC car I actually got two new RC cars. I've already basically built one of them, and I'm actually going to build the other one today, and I'm actually going to take you guys along with that. So we're actually going to show you the first car, which actually is a street car. So let me show you what I got. Alrighty guys, and here is the truck. It is a Arrma Infraction 1/8 scale. This is one of the funner cars. I have driven an Infraction before, but it was a 1/7 scale, so just a little bit bigger than what I have right now. But this was a brand new truck. It was actually a scratch and dent off of towerhobbies.com. The only problem with it was the charging port for their batteries. It was like a European style plug. Got this for a really good deal. Today we're actually going to be working on it. We're actually going to rip basically all the insides out and replace it with aftermarket stuff. We're actually going to make this thing go a lot faster. We're actually going to replace it with a Spektrum Brushless system. It's got the 85 amp brushless ESC along with a 3300 kV brushless motor. I put this in on my other truck and it made a world of difference. It's like throwing a hot tune on these things. Let me get this body off and I'll show you what we're going to deal with. Alrighty guys, so I got the body off. This is what the inside of a stock Arrma Infraction looks like. You got your stock battery here along with your stock ESC along with your motor. This truck goes about 35 miles an hour stock, which still isn't bad, but we're going to, after putting all this stuff in, this thing should go at least 60 if not higher. So what we're actually going to replace, we're going to replace the battery, we're going to get rid of this NiCad, we're going to switch it with a 3-cell Lipo. A lot of people normally don't run 3 cells in the system that I'm going to, but I have run 3-cell before and it absolutely just kicks ass. So we're going to run that. We're going to replace the motor, and we're also going to replace the ESC. Everything else we're going to leave in. We're going to leave our stock servo and see how that does. Gearing, we're going to leave the same for now. Let me set you guys up on a tripod and we'll get started. Alrighty guys, so we are all ready to go. First things first, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery. And in order to take the battery out, there's 2 Velcro strips, one on each side of the battery. I'm just going to pull those up and slide them out of the little holsters, and then grab the wire that's hooked in on the back here, pull that out, and then take out our battery. Now that our battery is disconnected, the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take out our drive shaft. Our drive shaft is right in the center here. Arrma makes it really easy. It's actually spring loaded, so you're actually going to take the back end, pull forward, which allows the back to come out, go up, release it, and then go over to the front side and just literally pull it right out, and our drive shaft is out. The next thing we're going to do, there's actually a screw right here that holds in your battery strap, which actually holds the motor in from sliding out. So we're actually going to flip the car over. It's actually going to be this bolt right here. Now you can use the hardware that Arrma gives you. They actually give you 2 Allen wrenches, so we're actually going to use those guys to actually take out the screw. Let me go ahead and grab it here. There's 2 different sizes. This one should be the bigger Allen wrench, which it is. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that bad boy up. Take the screw out. Now that the screw's out, we're gonna go ahead and flip the car right back over, and we're actually gonna use the Allen wrench as a pry bar. So we're actually going to pry this plastic piece out. I'm gonna go ahead and work it. Now that we've got a slightly moved, just go ahead and pull your Velcro strap, and it should release this, which it does. Now we're actually able to take the motor out, but first things first, we're actually going to disconnect our cables here, so our red and our black. Now, in order to get this motor out, all we got to do is, there's actually a pull tab here. We're actually going to pull this and slide the motor forward. Alright, now we got our motor out. We're going to go ahead and take the car and set it aside. On this, there is 3 sets of screws. One here, and one here. We're going to loosen these guys up, and this will take the cover off, which will allow us to get to our motor mounts here. So let's go ahead and take these 3 screws out.
If I could take you up in tell me I'm the only one that you know. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Life could be a dream. Plans would come true. And my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Shaboom, and hoping we meet again.
Alrighty, now we got all 3 screws disconnected. Now we're just gonna go ahead and take this faceplate and lift right up. Now, here is the inside of your gearing. You got your spur gear here, and then you got your pinion gear. So the spur gear, we're actually just gonna lift right up, pull right out. And then now all we got is just 2 more screws that hold in the motor. So we're going to unscrew these, lift this off, and then our motor is free. And then we'll go ahead and install the new motor. Alrighty, so I got the screws unscrewed. Now we're just gonna pry this guy right off. And here's our stock motor. The only last thing we will need off this bad boy is the spur gear. We're gonna keep the spur gear. So this one, we're gonna use a slightly smaller Allen wrench. Alright, so the spur gear is now off. We don't even need this motor anymore. Gonna go ahead and trash that. And then now we're actually gonna open up our new Spektrum system, which has the motor and ESC in it. Alright, so what comes in this box? You got your new ESC and your motor. And also a whole bunch of fancy stickers, which we love those. So right now I'm gonna actually take the motor out. So here's our new motor compared to the old one. It's actually a smaller motor, but it has a lot more power and it's brushless. Now we can actually use any of these mounting holes. On my other truck, since I mounted at an angle, I kind of had it at an angle so you can see the Spektrum logo. So I'm going to keep that just the same, but first we're actually going to stick our spur gear on here. So there's a little flat groove on the motor. You want to match it up with your screw on here. I'm also going to put a little Loctite on here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to loosen up the spur gear so I can slide up and down, and I'm actually going to put it back on here, put our spur gear in here, and actually line them up so I know that it's perfectly level. Alright, so I put my thread lock on there, I got the spur gear on there nice and tight. Now we're going to go ahead and put this motor case back together. So I have my motor kind of here at an angle, and my screws, so when it sits in the truck it's going to be like this. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screws here. Now that I got them started, I'm going to go ahead and put spur gear back in here. Now we do want a little bit of play in here. We don't want too much play, but we do want a little play in here. So when you put these gears back in, you do want a little bit of freedom, just a tad. Because if you have it too tight or you have it too loose, you might strip the gear. I had that happen on my other truck when I did this. I actually had it too tight and it actually partly stripped the spur gear. I want to make sure this truck's done right. The motor tightened down good. Now we're going to go ahead and put our cover back on, just like that. We'll go ahead and put our 3 screws back in, and then this part will be done. got all the screws in, and the motor part is done. So now we're actually going to put the motor back in the truck. So we got the truck here. We're going to go ahead and put the motor back in. We do want to make sure we line up the teeth on the back gearbox and the gearbox on here. So I just like to make sure that my gear is centered on top, which looks like it is. And that should be about centered there. And then we're gonna go ahead and stick this bad boy in. Now we're gonna go ahead and switch to our ESC, which is this red bad boy right here. We're gonna get rid of all of this crap and put in the nice one. So this one is very simple. We got 2 screws right here, and this whole thing comes out, and then we unplug it out of our power box, which is right up underneath there. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect these screws, and we'll get to putting in our new one. Alrighty, so we got the screws disconnected. Now we actually have access to our power box, which is right in here. And we're actually going to take our throttle cable out. Boom. Now this crappy old ESC is out. We're gonna stick in the nice ESC from Spektrum in our new setup. So here's our new ESC. It's got a lot more wires to it just because of the motor and stuff. So we got our power switch here, and then we got our throttle body switch here. So we're gonna make sure our wires line up, which our gray goes to gray. We're gonna go ahead and stick it down in there. So that is all nice and plugged in. Go ahead and tuck our wire in here. Now we can put the lid back on our power box here, and then we can go ahead and stick our new ESC on there, put the screws back in, and then we'll plug in our motor here. Alright, so our new ESC is in there. Now all we really have to do is kind of just neatly tuck away these wires here. I'm gonna have to get a screw for this bad boy because it actually will mount right in here. But right now I'm just gonna hang it loose, and then our battery wires can actually tuck in here if we needed to. And then our motor wires, pretty simple, match color to color here. My other truck, the motor was actually going in reverse, so I may have to switch these, but for now I'm just gonna match up the colors. And then we will go ahead and hook up our new battery, and this thing will be ready to roll. All right, before we actually start this thing up, we're actually going to put our battery box back in here. So we're just gonna go ahead and slide this back in, screw it back in on the back side, and then we'll go ahead and stick our drive shaft back in here. So our drive shaft is back in. Go ahead and screw this bad boy back in here. My new battery, we actually got rid of. We're not going to use this battery because this one's crap. With this new system, we are able to run 3-cell. It is kind of pushing it, but 3-cell it'll do. And I got a new Lipo battery, 11.1 volts versus the 7 volts in the stock one. 3-cell. We're going to go ahead and slide this bad boy in here, and then we're just going to hook up our 2 battery connectors here, and that is all we're going to need. We're going to go ahead and hit our power button. Here's the whole truck. So I'm going to make sure the steering works, because on my other truck for some reason the steering isn't working as good. So I'm going to test the steering on this. Hopefully it works. Alright, so the steering does work. Now I'm actually going to lift this truck up, and I'm going to see which direction the motor's spinning. So the motor is spinning backwards. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take our 2 outside wires here. I'm going to turn this thing off real quick. Take our 2 outside wires and flop them, which will reverse the direction of the motor here. Go ahead and turn it back on. So, got our steering. See if it goes forward. It does go forward. So this thing is a lot faster than before. And my steering works, so I'm happy about that. This thing is basically done, so we're just going to tuck away our wires here nice and neat. And I'll go ahead and put the body on and we'll take it for a test drive. Alrighty guys, so that completes today's video on the Arrma Infraction build on the brushless motor system. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That made this car super fast. I've never seen something smoke all full tires just with ease. So that concludes today's video. I will have everything linked down in the description if you guys want to purchase anything. If you guys like this video, please give this video a like. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, let us grow, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
There goes a sight from my soul.